What do you mean? Is it because you have to scrape the gum off the bottom of metal?
Yes. Or or like bars and like seating in places that people ask me to get to.
Ew.
If people would throw their gum away and it wasn't all over the sidewalk everywhere you go, I would probably be more into gum. But the fact that
Do you
it's
think
everywhere
we should find people that throw their gum out?
and beat them to death. I mean, wait, calm down.
I heard that's what they do in jolly old England.
In jolly old England, you do get fined.
You do get fined, yes.
You do get fined, and you should.
Yes.
Because it destroys things, and animals eat it, and then they're.
Oh yeah, that's right. They do eat it, like on the side of the road when you
Well,
throw
how
it
would you
out.
not?
Like you shouldn't do that.
Yes, you should not. do
Yeah,
that.
that and your banana peels and everything else that you think
and cigarette
biodegrades.
butts. Cigarette butts drive me crazy.
Nobody smokes anymore. Everybody vapes.
Oh, I disagree. Well, I wish they
Yeah.
did.
All right, you guys can start.
Yes. All right, we're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Welcome to Abacus Cabinetry 101. I am Stephanie Lemon with Abacus, and today I have with me is Devin from Perspective Design.
Thank you.
Devin is a metal fabricator that we are lucky enough to have with us in our building, and we go to him for all kinds of expertise and all kinds of exciting questions regarding metalwork, and we refer our customers to him. Not to mention we integrate a lot of his work into, or their work into our cabinetry. Devin, want to give us a little bit of a rundown on Perspective Design?
Did you say Perspective Design?
Oh my
Let
God,
me tell you about
Charles,
Perspective
welcome. Please do. Welcome
Hi,
to Cabinetry 101.
I'm Charles Lefkowitz, one of the owners of Perspective Design. We're a 5-year-old local company that builds custom designed furniture and sculptural features for commercial locations and potentially for your home.
I love it.
Thanks, Charles.
Thanks,
You're
Charles.
welcome. See you later.
Clearly nobody else had anything to do today.
That's how we work around here.
Yes, very hard. Awesome. Well, now that we have the rundown on Perspective Design from Charles, Devin, you want to take it over and kind of talk to us a little bit about
Sure.
some of the items that you guys brought here today and kind of
Yeah.
how we incorporated it in cabinetry, and let some customers know the different kinds of metals that you guys work with?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of different materials, but talking specifically about metals, we're going to go into steels, and which this is obviously a big piece of hot rolled metal. And the other type of steel would be cold roll, so it's just a more solid gray tone to it. We'll get into that a little bit more. You get your typical stainless, right? This just has a sanded look to it. So, and that's a pretty typical stainless that you'd see in your home or
Stainless is
restaurant.
pretty sought after, isn't it?
Well, it is because of the rust factor.
Okay.
You don't have to do anything to it. You can just clean it forever, and it never really gets dirty. It's a very
Like this beautiful
clean
piece that we found in your scrap pile and put out there.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep. It just they rust and get dirty and that kind of thing, and so you're constantly maintaining them. But it's a different look. This
Got it.
stainless is always just a consistent grain or polished look, and it's not very interesting. You know, a stainless steel kitchen, like in a commercial kitchen, obviously makes sense, but it's not really that cool, right? So
True. It gives that. It doesn't have that. You know, like oomph.
Yes,
or,
that's right.
yeah.
It doesn't. You could always go into aluminums also, but and because those also won't rust. But most people aren't really looking for aluminum for their kitchens.
No,
It's
they
not
like to
something-
wrap their leftovers in it and
That's
make
right.
swans and stuff out of it, right?
There you go. Yes, it's more of a decorative thing. So
Yeah.
your handles and your hinges and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. But a full kitchen out of aluminum, I don't think I've ever really even seen. But steel is different because in the hot rolled world, you get more of a grain look. So where people love wood because it has character, steel has character.
These lines right here almost have like little rainbows. Can you guys
That's right.
change the tone and the color of these lines, or how is
Well,
that?
so I can't personally do that, but depending on where we get the steel from and the thickness that you get, it will change. And that is the point that becomes exciting about using steel in your kitchen, because it always is going to be a little bit different. And depending on what you want or what you're looking for, we can change those patterns. Now, with
And
like
we
a
actually
cold
just
roll-
finished a kitchen with you guys, and
Yes.
this is one of the pieces back here that came for the upper cabinetry line. It's
That's right.
this is the hot rolled steel, and
Yes.
we made the range out of that. So we did a whole run of cabinetry.
That's right.
Incorporating this is hot weld, correct?
This is hot rolled,
Hot
and so
rolled.
it gets rolled when it's hot, and then it goes into an oil bath, and that oil is what you see on here. That's what get it, because it was all hot. That's why you get this rainbow look. That's why it's a more dark gray than this, which is cold rolled. So if they rolled this when it was cold, and it's just a solid tone. There's nothing really to it.
If I wanted to change the color of this, of a cold rolled option, could I work with the color on that for cabinetry?
Only if you wanted to paint it.
Okay.
So we can powder coat any color under the sun, and and there's that. But if you wanted to keep the steel look and have that more industrial feel of your house and your kitchen, then sticking with something like this is probably the best
The hot
option.
rolled option.
That's right. And if you can see the other, can you see that down there? The other piece, yeah.
I can lift it.
So we, this is finished. So this has been blackened, and it has a wax to it. So if you can see that, it's very consistent looking. It's very smooth at this point. The wax we use is very hard, and you can clean this again and again, and it's not going to be a lot of maintenance.
This and we made doors out of this, and it was actually easy to work with for the doors.
That's
Wasn't
right.
it?
We made
Yeah.
doors and a range hood out of that same material, and this was one of the pieces left over from it. So this is raw. It's before it actually got waxed, and then that piece is after.
And we're actually putting our grubby old fingers all over this, and I
That's
was
right.
just informed prior to this that it's going to rust immediately.
Yeah, you want to be careful and wear gloves a lot when we're using it, but so it looks good for
But
the
today it's
final product.
okay.
Do you want
Yeah.
to go into finishing, or do you want to talk about these?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of
Sure.
the options. I mean, we look at steel as, we've kind of talked about how it can be incorporated directly on a cabinet, and then maybe incorporating it with the cabinetry. So
Absolutely.
along with that, so we've got kind of a door option here. So if you were
Right.
looking to incorporate something into a bar, you could add almost like a metal piece addition over it.
Yeah, into a frame, and you have a
you have many
slew of
decorative
options and decorative. You want to
Yeah, take those decorative options.
And then we can do a thing like this, which is like a picture frame, or we can even use a metal piece like this that slides into the edge, and you can get different options and colors for this. So if you wanted to say powder coat this but not this part, you could get a very interesting effect depending on what you.
Oh, I
what you're
never
looking
thought of it
for.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could do it. You could powder coat this and not this piece. You could do all kinds of things in that realm of colors and styles and looks and shapes, and maybe we've used a lot of this kind of decorative metal with a wood background, so you still see the wood through there, but then the metal's coming through, and that's something that a lot of people are looking for.
That adds a really nice decorative feature too. And you guys
It
have also
does.
done some, almost like some accents to some cabinetry with us, where you guys have made
Yes.
thinly sliced pieces of hot rolled steel, incorporated them into the cabinetry line, and
Yes.
then had a matching toe pick on the bottom. And it was
Sure.
for a bar area, and it turned out beautiful.
Yeah, and if you're talking about just accents, well, the limits are impossible. But we've done things where it's just a corner piece of metal.
Oh,
right? And
nice.
the rest of it is just wood. We did a whole bar that was just that, and it had panels, and each panel had these little corners and a little piece down the center, and it was extravagant for sure, but it was gorgeous when it was done.
I'm gonna call Bar Rescue if they need more help.
They do, don't they? Yes, they do.
Awesome. So we've kind of gone through a little bit of the kinds of metal that you guys work with, both
Mhm.
the hot and the cold, and some of the finish options. And then some of the things that you guys do just outside the cabinetry world.
Yep.
You guys, I have right behind me a Ratio Beer Works sign, which
That's
is
right.
for sale today. Right here on Cabinetry 101.
Get it
Compliments of Devin, it's gotta go. If anyone's looking for one.
And we do. We work with a lot of woods. We work with a lot of different kinds of steels, and we mix them together. We do upholstery, glass, plastic, whatever those mediums are that need to come together to create something in a solid piece. And that's where we really shine. Those projects that are hard to bring all these different specialized contractors together, because of all those different elements, we bring it all together at one time and make sure those pieces fit exactly the way they need to.
Yeah, you guys have done a fabulous job. I know we've come to you for some particular custom options, and you guys have really been able to help us out. Not to mention be our metal gurus.
Yes, we try.
Do we have any questions for metal at all? Nothing? Hot, cold, warm? All right.
Painting, wax.
Painting, wax,
The
yeah.
the hard thing about waxing when you work with steel is the rust factor. It always is the rust factor. If it's right above a kitchen sink or a dishwasher, or like hoods are sometimes really hard because of steam, right? That really fine water in the air, it just gets into it, and so that's where stainless steel really shines. And if you can choose metal for places that aren't in those areas, it's much better.
In like the less functional areas.
That's
yeah.
right. Any of your cabinetry that's around the kitchen is usually fine. It's those places that are right next to a lot of steam, hot water kind of situations.
If that stuff does happen and it's been chosen to be a feature piece, say over the range or anything else, how would you recommend cleaning something like that?
So, I mean,
or
cleaning is
what's
fine.
the care?
What you would need to do is wax it again and again for a couple of years. You need to get that wax buildup, just like you would on a car.
Like a wax on,
That's
wax
right.
off?
Exactly. We just did one for a bathroom, which we normally would never do because of that situation. Bathrooms get very steamy, there's a lot of water involved. But this is what he wanted, and we said, okay, well, you're gonna kind of be our guinea pig. So we just waxed the whole countertop and everything around the sides.
What'd you guys do with the toilet?
That is his problem.
I would have gone to the totem.
Yeah. So we gave him some wax, and he's a contractor.
Okay.
So he kind of has an idea of what to look for, but he's going to continually wax it like every quarter, and then only a couple times a year, and we're going to see what happens. So that's going to be really exciting to find out what this wax can really do, and if it works, well, then we can start implementing those situations.
You have to let me know because I could probably use it on my car.
There you go. Yes.
Yes.
This stuff is pretty hard. It's a hard wax when it's done. They call it a rock hard wax.
Wonderful. Well, I think I'm out of questions unless there's anything else that we want to highlight.
I don't think so.
Awesome.
We do have one
We do.
question.
Awesome. Let's
How do
hear
you
it.
minimize weight on steel cabinet fronts?
How to minimize weight on steel.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
That
Yes.
is
Let's go into
always-
gauges.
yeah.
Yes, I was waiting for this
For
question.
sure.
Thank you.
So your thickness of metal, right? And I'll just hold this up here, right? The thickness of your metal is called a gauge, and steel comes in all kinds of gauges. So that's your first and foremost way of bringing the weight down. But then you're also into the flexibility factor and how are you going to stiffen that up. So
Like
we've
this
done.
guy is pretty.
Yeah, that's going to be super flexible, right? If that was a door, it's going to bend over time. Sorry.
No worries.
And we have played with that. We've gone with really lightweight metal, and then had to beef it up with wood behind it. Well, we just increased the weight, so we didn't really save anything. So we're experimenting with some other ways of bending the metal to get that stiffness and keep the thin gauge lightness out of it. That has been probably the sorest point in working with metal for cabinets, is trying to get that thin gauge and
Yep.
get the look you want still, because as steel gets hot and cold rolled, the more hot is going to be the thicker metals, and the cold rolled is going to be thinner. You can't do cold rolled and too thick, and you can't do hot rolled and too thin. So there's a sweet point in there, depending on what your look is and the weight that you're trying to achieve. You can always beef up your hinges and go with a bigger, thicker hinge, but maybe that compromises on the look that you're going for as well.
What I know we did these metal doors. Do you remember the gauge on? Do you remember the gauge on those metal doors?
So this is 14.
This one is 14.
Yeah, to get the look we wanted, but again, it almost was too heavy. But you can see how flexible this is, right? Like I can probably get this to bend in half just under my own weight.
Well,
But
this isn't Muscle Beach.
no, that's the point. I'm not a strong person, but I can get it to bend fairly easily. If you can handle the weight, it's better to go with a thicker gauge. But most people just want to get those lips to bend around and add other ways of stiffening stuff.
Because do you remember the gauge that we did on that door?
It's the same stuff.
Oh, same
Yeah, it's
stuff.
still
Okay,
14.
awesome.
It's
And then
14.
we ended up backing that with
We did.
1/4 inch or 3/4 inch metal.
And we also
Yeah.
had to do that to have a place to hold hinges. So a lot of times too, we'll weld in just bracket places and drill and tap for your hinges.
But then
So
you'll
that
just
you're-
get the raw look if you don't put a back on it.
It
Yeah.
depends on what happens when your door opens to what you're looking for. There's ways of doing very thin stuff like we've done
Yeah.
for a couple of doors, and adding just a 1/4 inch piece on the backside so it's nice and flat and even inside. Also easy to clean, which is always the factor. You know, something like this is not going to be the easiest
No.
thing to clean, right?
Exactly.
So, and where something like this is going to be a lot easier to clean.
So something more along, we would say like probably about a 14 gauge right now has been the sweet spot working for us.
It has been the sweet spot because we're constantly trying to shave weight.
Yeah.
We've gone down to 16 gauge and it actually worked fairly well. But it was a thing trying to get that to not bend and bow, and you know, you open a door, you don't want it to move on you.
No.
You want it to feel solid and like it's gonna hold up for years.
Yeah. Any good question? Any other questions?
Nope.
We're good.
Thanks guys.
Yeah, thank you
We
for joining
appreciate
us today on Cabinetry 101. Please make sure to join us next week where we're going to be talking about hardware of internal cases. So we'll have Kevin Pilcher from Blum join us, and we're pretty excited for that too. So
Great.
thank you very much, guys. We'll
Thanks,
see you
Steph.
next Wednesday. Thank you, Devin. Appreciate
Yep.
you being here. Yeah, buddy.
Anytime.
All right.